All right, everybody. Hope you enjoy uh, last week. I hope you enjoy what we're going to be doing this week. I apologize. I'm getting over the flu myself, but this next episode is part two of our conversation with Coach Tony, where we start really examining his journey in practicing masculinity and installing systems in his life to continue his growth, building community of growth, breaking cycles of self-doubt, and really working through some of that thing. So I hope you get a lot out of this content. And there's another episode yet to come. So if you like this one, stay tuned for next week, and you're going to get more of Coach Tony with us. And just thank you for being here. Stay epic, guys.
All right. So you said a few things. You said a few things in there that really kind of got me to thinking, right? Like the difference between mom yelling and dad yelling, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and how that sticks with you, and how you thought about that when you look back, and you know you let that transform how you show up as a dad, right? Because I think every man has this idea. Well, you can see the polarities in how men think about their father, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are men who hold this ideology of who their dad was, and they strive to be their dad, right? I want to be
Mm-hmm.
just like him, right? And as little boys, we all want to be just like dad, right? On
Mm-hmm.
some level, those of us who knew our father as boys, and then somewhere along the way we lose that, and then it shifts to the other polarity, right? I don't want to be anything like that man, and we never do the work to actually understand why we don't want to be like our dad or do want to be like our dad, and allow that. But you said you went back and you looked at how the impact on your childhood from each of your parents affected you, things that you didn't even realize were wounds, and you dug in, and
Mm-hmm.
digging in to your childhood, to your pain, transformed your relationship with your parents
Mm-hmm.
to the extent that you got that thing you were always looking for from your dad, which was that acknowledgement. And that John Eldridge, an author that I like to read, he talks about the one thing a boy needs is to know that he's the beloved son, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we don't hear that. Sometimes we never hear that. Sometimes we're in our 40s before we hear that, right?
Right.
And it hits, and it doesn't matter when it comes, but when it comes, it's something special. And I guess what I'm getting at is taking the ownership of you is what led to you being able to get that beloved son acknowledgement, and also to transform how you show up as a father yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it just got me to thinking, and I didn't want to go, I didn't want to leave that nugget of, this is all about your responsibility. It's all about the actions you took to dig into you, to look into you, to look into the mirror, right? You carried all of
Mm-hmm.
these expectations and all of these societal, thank you, societal messages of what a man is supposed to be, and you said, "What kind of man am I?"
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I want to acknowledge that, because that to me, that's where the true strength in masculinity comes in, right?
Sure.
We can spend a lot of time looking at the externals, pointing fingers, blaming, but that's a victim, right? That's victim mindset.
Yeah, it is.
And we all have agency of our over our actions, and everything that we do in life is a choice. And you made the choice to say, I got to look at me because I am the only thing in my life that I can control. So anyway, that was burning in my brain, and I had to acknowledge that, and I say kudos to you, right? And also, you talked about giving that gift of masculinity back to society, right? Back to the world. You do that. You do that very faithfully every Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm.
You have a very structured course within this Epic Life program where you every Saturday morning you are walking through the domains of life, helping men not just focus on momentary things and situations in their lives, but helping men direct their focus on what it means to be a whole and complete man.
Right.
And that's I think Dennis and I spend most of our time in the damage control, right? You know,
Yeah.
and you're in a very you get to spend your time laying out a plan, putting the roadmap together,
setting the foundations.
You're helping men set their foundations. As a matter of fact, in our curriculum, that epic, we call it the epic domains, but it's a masculine foundation course.
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing
I remember
it
we talked about that, yeah,
over and over again consistently. And the men who come to your calls are faithful to those calls. Like they need that. It's like air for them or water, and that's great. So, I guess really what I'm doing is I'm saying this story, this narration that you've given so far is a perfect example of what it means to be a man who says, in order for me to be the man God created me to be and to embrace this gift of masculinity that I was born into, I have to take ownership of it, which means taking personal responsibility for me and my actions. And through that process, I can heal all of the relationships in my life that the old me saw as maybe damaging or lacking or hurtful. So there you go. Thank you. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Thank
I know
you.
it's a lot, but that's
Thank
it.
you, Coach Adam.
That's it.
I appreciate that.
I'll sit back in my corner and wait for another nugget to pop out.
No, that's a good caveat to. No, it's not a good caveat because I don't want to go there yet. But it's a good. It's
a good caveat if we were going there, but we're not going to pivot yet, so we'll save it for later.
Yeah. Don't want to pivot to what he brings there yet, because there's a part of that I think we need to go to in the fact of Tony discovered his masculine self and how he defines it today. And so I think it's super awesome that Tony has the opportunity to share his journey to that discovery. Basically, how he became aware of the need for him to evolve into that. I'm speaking third person. How, Tony, you got that awareness, how you took the initiative, and how you keep that initiative, which leads you to really honing in on your purpose. And part of that purpose is your Saturday morning masculinity calls. So, or let me give the audience the appropriate title for that. How you execute your Strength Summit calls every Saturday morning here at Epic Life. So, So if you just want to talk about, how you got there, how you discovered your awareness, how you the habits that you formed to keep it going, and how important it is for you, and what led to your next steps.
Okay, so I like it. It goes back to a book my wife and I think I forgot the book I read about last year, but we both started getting into the concept of systems, right? Having systems in place. And you're only as good as the systems you have in place in terms of keep you proficient in what you're doing and things like that too, right? So one of the things that really keeps me consistent is really being disciplined. Even based on like how I get up every morning. I usually get up Monday through Saturday. I wake up, I got a garage gym, go outside and I work out and things like that too. I don't do anything crazy because of some physical ailments and things like that I do have, but I do things to stay consistent, right? So I can keep the blood pumping, going through my muscles and everything else. And like having that routine, right? It helps me still like be consistent with also too, like I think that right there is a big thing, along with, like my prayer, my meditation I do in the morning as well. I don't
Mm,
do it as every day as I do with working out because, man, if I don't work out, like everything just falls apart.
gotcha.
But sometimes I might get up and I might be a little bit late, so I don't have time to pray and meditate like I want to. So I kind of get it all in at the same time, right? But I can definitely tell a difference. Um, but anyway, it's just having those routines in place, having a routine of like physical exercise, meditation, prayer, reading of like daily the Word of God, and also to journaling, is that it helps maintain certain systems in place. Because I remember being that Marine that was just like always God, 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 God. Like if I'm at a place where I don't have time to do any of that stuff first thing in the morning, I gotta wait to PT when I first get to work or something like that. And it's just like it's a whole nother thing, right? But anyway, but then when I start having like the physical health issues and things like that too, all that stuff just kind of like went to the wayside. But I noticed that like I operate better when I have like my physical domain tapped in first thing in the morning and everything else falls into place. And I have a system that I have throughout the week, and also to thank God for, like the group where we have our group in, I can actually put up, like admin posts, like to like put out, like the, cause I remember me and Adam, we talked about it like, man, I'm like I forgot to post, like today on Friday, or I like to try to get out of post, and like then he's like, oh, you don't got admin positions? Like, no. He said he gave it to me. So the next thing I know, I just took it all over and I started putting admin, like scheduled posts out there, and that was like one thing that really helped me out tremendously. So all I had
Mm,
to do was just focus on like developing the curriculum every week, and I had a pretty good curriculum established. I created for the whole year last year in 2024, and now it's pretty much all in place. Now I gotta just what is that, refine it and make it cleaner, clean it up, so it's a lot more efficient. And looking forward to what we got planned for 2025, because we got some cool things planned this year in terms of how we're going to use the Strength Summit and other calls and things like that, try to like evangelizing tools so we can get more guys into our rooms. We can get them more into like the program. And it's not about like just getting people in here, but we're trying to get people in here who actually want to do the work and do the help, you know, because one of the biggest challenges, like I was talking to Coach Adam before, is that like it's not really about trying to find people who are going to buy the program, but it's really about finding people that actually wants to invest into themselves.
yeah.
Because when they don't believe enough in themselves, they're not going to believe enough to even like come into the program. And like we don't want people like that here, because they're just going to be dead weight. We want people who actually want to invest into themselves, come in here and actually start doing the work for themselves, and that's it. Because we seen guys, the guys who can afford to do the program, and they still look at it, it's like, man, this is stupid. Like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'm out of
Hmm.
here. They're like, all right, we'll leave. We don't want you here. You're gonna
Yeah.
find a tribe that you belong to that's gonna hopefully get you on the track you need to be to. But if you don't, you're gonna just keep on chasing your tail and making the same mistakes over and over again. Because we've been there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've positioned ourselves to help men break that cycle of chasing their tail. It's whether or not
Yeah.
they. Did I take your words, Adam?
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay. Uh, but if a man chooses to jump back in that cycle, right, we can only be that outlet if needs be, right? Like a NASCAR race, we're willing to help you change your oil. We're willing to show you how, to give you the manual, but then we're willing to let you go and do it.
Yeah.
But Tony, it's really important to identify the fact that what you said as far as refining curriculum, and to continue to hone in on it and make it better, is the same storyline that we have as men, right? As masculine men, is we set habits and routines, and you talked about that, right? You set up routines within the Facebook group for posts. You set up habits and routines for yourself, starting out in the morning, right? Working out, reading, meditating, prayer. That's touching 4 domains right off the rip, right? Your physical domain, your mental domain, your
Mm-hmm.
intellectual domain, your spiritual domain, right? And I imagine through all that, somehow or another, you're hitting an emotional domain, right? And be able to just sit with yourself and figure out how you're feeling, how you're going to go approach the day. I mean, that's 5 domains right off the rip, first thing in the morning. And what better way to ground yourself through your own habits, right? And knowing, like you said, when you don't do all those, you're a little off. Or when your time is not, when your time is not, when your time is shortened, you even said like things are just a little bit off. I still do it because I know I need to. I do some form of it, but it's not as the way I want it. So it's important that we identify our own needs and fall within our own habits that we've created to be the most epic version of ourselves, to show up in the ways we need to, emotionally for other people, physically for other people, right? Spiritually, I mean, you name it. So that was a great point. Not only refining a curriculum, but refining the man that you are with each opportunity.
Thank you.
And that's how you start out your day, brother.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. I was going to say, Dennis, you didn't steal my words. I was going to say something a little more sharp, that taking responsibility is scary. It's scary to most men, right? Because when we have to, when we realize that the only thing that we can actually control in life is ourselves, that means that we have to look at ourselves as the one common denominator in all of the situations that bother us, right? And so it's either I'm not performing like I should, or I'm not regulating myself and I'm letting my emotions take over. Right? If it's a skill set issue in a situation that bothers us, we know what we can do. We can fix it, right? That's what we do as men. I can fix that. I can Google that. I can learn the thing I need to learn, and then I can do it correctly. But when it's an emotional issue, it's not as easy to Google that, right? I mean, how many men do we talk to, and how many books did each of us read before we actually learned how to actually apply that to our lives and live by what those books say? I read many a book. I mean, I was a pastor. I read the book over and over and over and over, and still did not understand what it meant to take those burdens and unload those burdens, right?
Yes, sir.
You know, that's like the central message. I would deliver that message. I would see people be relieved with the message. I would even feel good about some of the words. When I was leading worship, it felt great. It felt great to have that catharsis, but I didn't realize what was happening. I didn't realize that there was a call from something bigger to really embrace what it means to be the man I was created to be. I heard something a long time ago that, you know, that we're all given a name when we're born, right? Our parents give us a name. But prior to that, we were given a name by God, right? And that name was written down in the book, right? And the goal was to really understand what that name was, to grow into and grow close to him so that you could actually know what God thought of you. And I don't remember where I heard this, but I heard this concept. I think I was in a youth group, and it was like this, oh, wow, yeah. I'm going to learn to know my name. Now I look back at that and I'm like, I got to learn to know who I am. And until I can take responsibility for that, everything else is going to feel like a mess. Everything else is going to be intimidating. Everything else is going to be, you know, what it is. And I don't know how to fit in all that. Like, the narrative that I'm telling myself is not true. It exists and it's real, but it's not true. And it was through this process. It was through getting a punch in the nose that made me look at myself and snap out of that victim mindset and learn how to take responsibility for myself, that I think I'm beginning to know that name. Do I know it fully? Do I have I unlocked all the potential there? No, absolutely not. I won't in this life, but I'm gonna unlock a little piece of it every day as I go, building these habits into my life, taking advantage of the fact that I've got a group of men that I can surround myself that are trying to do the same thing. And yeah. And there's my sermon for that little segment.
Well, that concludes part 2 of our conversation with Coach Tony. If you want to learn more about us, check us out at theepiclifecoaching.com. You can go to our Instagram at theepiclifecoaching. You can check us out on TikTok, The Epic Life Coaching. You're kind of getting the gist here. But feel free to inquire not only how you can be a part of the full tribe at The Epic Life Coaching, but if you want to learn more from Coach Tony himself, you can be part of the Strength Summit, which is a program within Epic Life Coaching that Tony heads up and he's running. And there we have for $40 a month, you can be a part of his weekly coaching and really learn the foundations of strength and masculinity with him. So these are all options that are available. We appreciate you being here for the ride so far, and hope you keep coming back. So like, subscribe, share, spread the word, and make it epic. We'll talk to you later. Bye.